Greetings, Gothamites! Welcome back to the channel. I am the Crow Lector, and today, as you can see, we are taking a look at something very special. Now, I still don't necessarily know how I was able to luck out and get this. I think it just took a little bit of patience, perseverance, and some other Jedi-like qualities that I only sometimes possess. But I was able to get this set without having to resort to those aftermarket prices, which, as we know, aftermarket prices and impulse buying are paths to the dark side. Popped back up on Hasbro Pulse, and I went ahead and bought it faster than Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon ran away from the Trade Federation droids in Episode 1, and then never used that power again. But that's a video for another day. Now, I've been waiting to open this up. I've had it for about a week now. It's been burning a hole in my pocket, even worse than the fires of Mustafar burned a hole in, well, all of Anakin. So let's go ahead and pop this guy open, shall we? Though I guess before we do that, we will take a look at the beautiful packaging. We have a beautiful, almost like comic splash page art of Anakin and Obi-Wan dueling on Mustafar. Very dynamic, very vibrant. I could easily see this with some splashes of color, looking like a comic book. Shifting over to the side, we do have our beautiful in-depth bio in multiple languages. Now, as you can see here and in the opening crawl, it does feature what I would like to assume is an unintentional typo or misnaming with Sith Lord Darth Vader. But what makes it even more interesting is that even in the other languages, it says Darth Vader, but in some of them, we have the correct naming. Darth Vader here, Darth Vader here, in Spanish, and what is that? Danish? German? I'm not entirely sure. 3 Darks, 2 Darths, so I don't know. It feels both intentional and unintentional. You never really know what you're going to get with Hasbro. This reminds me a little bit of the number 100 Luke Skywalker figure that had that typo on it. The Luke Skywalker. Who knows what was going on here? It might be the meddling of the dark side once again. Not that big a deal, especially for those of us who love to take these things out of the packaging. And here we have our set unsheathed, if you will, with 2 heroes locked in an epic battle of the ages, a battle of the heroes, if you will. And one thing I will give to Hasbro is their choice of poses, choice of display, so that even if you aren't an out-of-box collector, you can still get a nice dynamic scene with big, nice open window showing off the action. You even get a little glimpse of the accessories on the side there. And that's another draw to this set, because the regular Anakin and Obi-Wan are not coming with any extra accessories. So if you want those extra heads, those extra lightsaber effects, this is currently the only way. And one of the main draw for me with this set, I think, was the addition of the diorama pieces. I don't know, here recently, for whatever reason, I've really been getting into posing and dioramas. It sort of reminds me of the old Star Wars Unleashed figures from way back when. I never had those, but I thought they looked super, super cool, so this is kind of making up for that. As you can see, as long as you cut along the tape on the front, this whole front panel folds up to reveal the set. So even, obviously, if I've taken them out here, but if you wanted to, you could keep everything in, just display it like this. You have all this room to kind of play with. But then, if you don't want to keep the box itself, you can remove just the backdrop. And as long as you're careful, you can cut the tape, remove the plastic, and you have a nice little backdrop for your diorama here. Obviously, there is the big honking hole right here. That's a little bit of a bummer, but let's face it, it's not the worst thing to happen on Mustafar. Now, I know I give Hasbro a lot of flack for a lot of things, but just little things like this, using the package, or all parts of the package. So you get the diorama for the figures, you get a nice backdrop that you could easily use. And then if you wanted to, this almost feels kind of like a store display. If you had some of the inbox figures, you could easily throw them in there. I don't know how many would fit, but you know, you could easily utilize this in other ways if you really wanted to. We'll take a quick look at the accessories here. Ooh, spooky disembodied heads. We get a nice alternate head. More basic Anakin Skywalker head for Anakin, a nice clean head for Obi-Wan, A nice little clash effect for their lightsabers to meet in the middle. Two Force hands. Don't really think it matters which one you use on either. They're both basically the same sculpt. Some little pegs to make them stand on the base, and then a bunch of the lightsaber fans of varying sizes. And I do really, really like the inclusion of these. I know we got one with Dooku. I think the re-release of Aayla Secura. Personally, I think these should be given with all the lightsaber characters. Maybe switch it up. Give us one with a small, one with medium, one large. And it's an easy change they could make that would really add a bunch of character and dynamicness to the figures themselves. So I might add some of these extra ones to some of the other Jedi characters I have. The platforms themselves are very, very nicely done. We have some good width to it as well with these little side spiky thingies here. Would have been nice if they could pivot up and down just to give us a little bit more room for those of us who are spatially challenged. Some really nice sculpting on the top with the divots, the different silver and gray paint. I really like the additions of the little cooled bits of lava or magma. I'm not sure. Young me would be very disappointed in the fact that I've forgotten some of my volcano knowledge. And then we do have this little jar thingy here, which it does have almost like a weather vane. Shift this any way you'd like. Forgive me, fellow Star Wars nerds, that I don't know exactly what this is. Please do tell me in the comments. And then it does also come with the lava mining droid as well. You could, I guess, consider this another character that it comes with. I don't know if it's an accessory, a character, a platform, diorama. It's a bit of all of the above. But I like the little, like, almost eyes you get here. We do actually get a little bit of articulation as well. This guy can put its little arms up and down. Now, the two little needle thingies do not move independently of one another. They are connected, so you can't just raise the smaller one or the bigger one. They do have to move in tandem, but such a small deal in the grand scheme of things. And the sculpting here is very, very nice as well, with the little tubes. The underside has some really cool texture to it, and then little bits of the lava on top as well, with some weathering effect to it as well. Hasbro really did put a lot of work into this, and I think with maybe a nice kind of dry brush or weathering, this guy could look really, really nice and worn, like he's been out in the lava fields for quite some time. And then they do have a base as well, the sort of broiling lava. Now these are two separate pieces. You can kind of interlock them, but they definitely don't fit in together. This smaller one here goes with the droid, this bigger one for the platform, obviously, and this is really, really cool. I always love the little bits of like translucent plastic. You could easily, I think, work some LED lights or something up in here to give it kind of a shimmery effect. But this is kind of what I mean with like the swirly effects. That really remind me of those old Unleashed figures. Very, very cool. Of course, let's not get it twisted. The main draw of the Battle of the Heroes set is the heroes themselves. We have gotten the Episode 3 Obi-Wan and Anakin before, but they have been in dire need of redos for quite some time now. We did get both of them somewhat recently in the archive waves, but the less said about those, the better. They weren't really so much upgrades as just slightly better redos. And even that, I think, is arguable. So it was about time that we actually got some nice new figures. And the 20th anniversary of Revenge of the Sith is, of course, the perfect time. So I guess we'll start with Obi-Wan, because we have gotten many more Obi-Wan figures recently because of the Kenobi show. And already, I mean, come on, you guys. This is a much, much better figure than the old ones. I'll bring that one out later. Just the face itself, I mean, that looks pretty darn close to Ewan McGregor. The face printing is so good. The sculpt, so good. The paint, everything. I mean, this is probably the best Kenobi that we've gotten, likeness-wise, so far. And I'd say the same for the body. These do, of course, integrate the new seamless, pinless joints here, and it does look so nice. We've gotten many of these Jedi tunics, of course. But this does seem to be, if not totally new, at least slightly new. Oh, excuse me, Obi-Wan. I don't know if it's the paint, the fact that it does look a little bit more matte than some of the other ones that sometimes skew a little bit more shiny, but this one, it looks different and it feels different. It feels just better quality in general. We do have some nice paint apps along the belt there as well, some silvers and golds, and this nice little boots there. And the same goes for Anakin as well. We've gotten a decent amount of Anakin figures here recently with the Ahsoka show and the Clone Wars, all that. I'm not entirely sure if this is the best Hayden Christensen likeness, but it is definitely up there. I'd have to see them all side by side. This is kind of the spitting image of Hayden Christensen. I love how they even kind of got the little scar in there. Certainly does look better from certain angles as well. Maybe not fully straight on, but this really does kind of just look like Hayden Christensen shrunk down. The more I look at it, the more I really like it. And with this one as well, the body is a major, major upgrade from the old one. Whereas the old one had pretty much a full solid piece throughout the robes, this one is a separate soft plastic overlay. Actually get 2 layers here, which is very nice. And then same with the shoulders up here. It is a separate kind of plastic overlay, which don't mean to give away the secrets, but does look very nice. As you can see, there's a little bit of warping from the tray, but I don't think that'll be too difficult to fix. Just a little bit of heat, press it down, and we should be good as new. But I do love all the little kind of like wrinkles in the fabric here. Some nice paint on the belt as well with the gold and silver on his mechanical arm. Very, very nice. Just to show the other heads on these guys, we have the more kind of rugged, battle-swept version of Obi-Wan. This one still looks really, really good. I don't think it's quite as strong as just the neutral one, but it is good, especially from, again, certain angles. I do like the dark circles under the eyes, the bags under the eyes, which is a really nice touch. And same with Anakin. I don't know if the likeness is quite as strong on this one. Again, I do think the kind of neutral one is definitely closer to Hayden Christensen, but I get how it could be a little bit more difficult to get an expression. I think you're always going to lose a little bit of the likeness when it comes to the expression. This one is probably the one I'm going to keep on this figure. Probably the same with this one. And then when the mainline releases come, I'll keep the neutral head sculpts on those. But moving to articulation on these guys, again, they do have really nice pinless joints, which is a big, big improvement. You are, of course, going to get a little bit of restriction from the tunic, the overlay. It is a soft plastic, so I guess you could kind of push it up just a little bit further if need be. It does go. You just kind of risk warping that plastic. It does feel, well, no, I don't think he quite has butterfly joints like we got a little sneak peek of with Anakin, but he does have some really good swivel hinge movement. Same with robes. Of course, you're only going to get about 90-ish degrees, or if you break his arm the other way. Now, the wrists seem to integrate something that they're implementing more and more with the Black Series figures, which is not like a swivel hinge joint at all. It's like a little mini ball joint, which is super cool. So obviously, with the robes being what they are, the hard plastic, they do restrict movement a bit, but with the cool ball joint, I think you're going to get slightly more range of motion, just for like the little kind of subtle difference in posing. You have a ball joint on the waist. Take a little sneaky peeky in there. A nice soft tunic does allow for some really nice movement of barbell crotch there. You get like 90-ish degree movement on the legs. He can, of course, do the splits, as Obi-Wan is famously known for. Not much like forward movement on the knees, but you do get some nice backward movement, about 90 degrees as well. But it does stop there just because of the boot hitting the pant, but he really wouldn't need to get it much past that. And your classic swivel hinge on the boot. Anakin, I think, fares a little bit better because you do get, like I said, that little butterfly joint there. I don't know why they included it on Anakin and not Obi-Wan. Unless, like I said, they did with Obi-Wan and it just kind of is restricted by his tunic. But you do get some really nice movement out of Anakin. About yay back. Not too much, but it is definitely noticeable. Some nice upward downward. He seems to get maybe a little bit more upward motion on his arms than Obi-Wan, just because of the design of his robes, which are a little bit looser fitting. And then same with the hands, because at least on this one, you do get kind of a wider hole on the shirt. You do get more range of movement. Obviously on this one, there's nothing to constrict it, so you get the full kind of 360. Still not a whole lot of movement. You definitely can't get it as much as the swivel hinges, but still, it looks natural. The ball joint at the waist, the can legs there, T crotch. So, ooh. That's the X-rated version. Let's see, comparatively, is it? Yes, well, so I guess what Obi-Wan loses in the arm department, he does get a little bit more movement in the leg department. And we know Obi-Wan does love his legs. He got some nice legs. There is a separate knee joint that can shift side to side, and the boot cut, and then a swivel hinge at the feet. Does Obi-Wan have that boot cut as well? He does. Look at those boots. These boots are made for walking whatever you want. Now, comparing the new with the old, I mean, come on. I know I don't really have to do a whole lot of explaining here. Obviously, this one is much cleaner, whereas this one kind of has that built-in, I guess, wash to it, or dirty look to it, which is a little bit nice, but, I mean, come on. If that's the only thing this one really has going, so be it. This old one, very shiny, and I think I even put a coat or two of like a matte spray on this one. That head sculpt, that likeness is just, it's not it. He looks very shiny, very sweaty, which I guess works for Mustafar. The hair is, of course, far too light. It's like his blonde phase that he went in, his midlife crisis blonde phase. Who among us hasn't considered it? Of course, the articulation, much worse. He does have the kind of fabric underpiece there, which, not only does it kind of restrict movement, but I know a lot of people just didn't really like it. This one held up pretty well, but I have seen a lot that have frayed. It, of course, breaks up the sculpt with that kind of built-in butt crack. Whereas on this one, the softer plastic allows for more movement. It's cleaner. Doesn't break up the sculpt, just so much nicer. On this one, we do have the pinless joints on the arms, but not on the knees. So, while you do get maybe a little bit more movement upward, I mean, come on, it's a small price to pay. Now, you have some other Obi-Wans that are very nice, very good likenesses. Both of these, I think, are really good. This one's kind of like the little cherub boy. I don't know why he's got such rosy little cheeks. Maybe he saw Satine and just got, a little embarrassed. If I had to say, this one, the Target exclusive, would maybe be my favorite of the early era Obi-Wans up until this point. We do have, of course, many from the Kenobi show, but this is a huge upgrade. I am very happy to be rid of this old one here. And no surprise, of course, the same does go for Anakin as well. We have the nice kind of neutral head, and then the Darth Vader head. And of course, this is like what I mean with the hard plastic, so you don't get that cool butterfly joint. And then similar, like with on Obi-Wan, you have the fabric skirt, which it fares a little bit better on Anakin. They put the seam on the sides, which doesn't give him that butt crack in the back. Again, just really shiny. I'm really glad that, I don't know what they're doing with their plastic, but definitely getting rid of some of that shine. This is plenty shiny, of course, which does work. It is supposed to be a faux leather, so it does work. I may still give it a bit of a matte spray. Just comparing these two heads. Very pale, very sweaty, very, like he just pooped his pants and he doesn't want anyone to know. Whereas this one is like the fearsome, angry, turn to the dark side kind of Vader. And even their lightsabers are much, much better. I don't have the old ones lying around. Nice, thicker hilts, thicker blades as well. I'm still not a huge, huge fan of kind of the peg system on these. I would really just love if they would give us two separate sabers, one with the blade fixed in, and then one without that can go on the belt if you want. I just had so many lightsabers fall off the shelves and snap at the peg, in which case they're completely unusable, totally broken. But these ones do feel nice and sturdy. I don't know if they switched up the plastic on these as well, but they do feel much better than some of the earlier versions that we have. And of course, the ultimate test for any lightsaber wielding character is, can they hold their saber with two hands? The earlier iterations of Anakin and Obi-Wan could not, but finally, after what, 3-ish attempts, we finally have an Anakin and an Obi-Wan that can hold their lightsabers with two hands. Now, in the case of our little droidy friend, he does have a little bit of a droop to him if you just want to stand him on his own. And he's been having a long day on the Mustafar lava fields, so I would recommend just kind of placing him up against the edge. It doesn't quite fit in perfectly there, but it does allow him to stabilize a little bit. Now, you could, of course, if you're feeling particularly creative, work the droop into the display a bit. You know, maybe he's like, Anakin is pushing off the weight of Anakin, because Anakin is kind of thick. So maybe the weight of him is kind of pushing the droid down a bit. Hey, it's your display. All in all, you guys, this really is such a phenomenal set. A lot of thought went into the display, into the diorama, and all the accessories. It's, of course, one of, if not the most iconic moment of the saga, certainly the most important. And it finally gave us some much needed new releases of Anakin and Obi-Wan. This set was a bit of a headache to get for most people, but even if you just get the single carded Anakin and Obi-Wan, I think you'll be really happy with them. They are really great figures and a really great way to mark the 20th anniversary of Revenge of the Sith, which it looks like we're not even done with. We have the Palpatine versus Mace set coming out in just a few weeks, so the celebration continues. What other figures would you like to see from Revenge of the Sith? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, you guys. I will be back soon with more creepy Crowlection content, but in the meantime, stay spooky, my chosen ones.